At this rate, there's going to be no big trades that actually happen on trade deadline day. We have another pretty big deal to talk about here between the Boston Bruins and the Washington Capitals. The Bruins have acquired defenseman Dmitry Orlov and forward Garnet Hathaway from the Washington Capitals in exchange for forward Craig Smith, a first rounder in 2023, a second rounder in 2025, and a third rounder in 2024. The Capitals are retaining 50% of Orlov's cap hit, who is set to become a UFA at season's end, and the Minnesota Wild, just like they did in the Ryan O'Reilly trade, got involved as a third team, retaining 25% of Orlov's cap hit and acquiring a 2023 fifth and a prospect for their efforts. The Boston Bruins are loading up. There was so much speculation over the past week or so that Vladislav Gavrikov would be headed to the Boston Bruins and that a deal was already in place. It's just the Bruins had to find a way to make the cap situation work. Well, it seems like now we can throw that idea out the window, and honestly, I like this move a lot more for the Boston Bruins than if they went out and got Gavrikov. First, let's talk about Dmitry Orlov, 31-year-old left shot defenseman. Like I said, pending UFA, has been a minute-eating machine for the Washington Capitals this season, especially ever since John Carlson went down with injury. And Orlov's done a really good job playing in those top-pairing minutes this season for the Capitals. I wouldn't call him strictly just an offensive defenseman because he's more than fine defensively, but the offensive side of the game is definitely where he thrives and where he makes a big impact. He's a fantastic skater, which allows him to have a really good transition game. Just for comparison, because there was so many rumors tying Gavrikov to Boston, I think Dmitry Orlov is a much better complete defenseman than Gavrikov. You look at Boston's left side now, you got Matt Grzelcyk, Hampus Lindholm, and Dmitry Orlov. That is nasty. And while Orlov is definitely the bigger piece going to Boston in this deal, don't sleep on the addition of Garnet Hathaway, who is a very good bottom six energy forward, extremely physical, great forechecker. The first thing I tweeted when I saw the news of this trade break was that Garnet Hathaway is literally the perfect Boston Bruin. I think he's going to be a fantastic fit in their bottom six. If you put him in a line with somebody like Trent Frederick, that line is going to get under other teams' skin. Overall, really like this deal for the Boston Bruins. They get a lot deeper up front and on the back end, and listen, this might be one of the last times the Bruins have a chance to contend for a Stanley Cup with this core. It makes total sense to go all in, and honestly, I feel like this is kind of the perfect trade for them with the current state of their team. I like the fact that they didn't go out and try and acquire like a star forward, a high maintenance guy who could potentially disrupt the team chemistry or nothing like that. So I definitely think the Bruins did really well here. Now let's quickly break down this deal from the point of view of the Washington Capitals. You know, kind of surprised sellers like 3 weeks ago wouldn't expect Washington to make a deal like this, but obviously they've really been sliding as of late. Their chances of making the playoffs look pretty bleak, so I think it makes sense for them to sell off some guys who are pending UFAs, stockpile some draft picks, a first, a second, and a third. I would say is really solid value. It was reported on that Dmitry Orlov was asking the Capitals for a 6-year extension. They were only willing to go 3 years, so in all likelihood, they were going to lose him for nothing if they decided to hold on to him through the deadline. So when you think about it from that point of view, I think this was a really smart decision by the Washington Capitals. I know a lot of Caps fans are probably going to be upset with this because the Capitals are selling as opposed to buying and trying to make a push for the postseason, but I do truly feel like this was the best way for the Capitals to go. And listen, they're not completely out of the playoff race. Like, I wouldn't completely write them off of making the playoffs just yet. You do get Craig Smith in this deal, who's not all that far removed from being a guy who scored at a 20-goal pace season after season. So maybe with a change of scenery, he can get hot with Washington. Obviously, you have Ovechkin coming back to the lineup now after he's returned from Russia. Final thoughts on the deal, though. I honestly really like it for both sides. I think it makes a ton of sense for both teams. I'm really interested to hear your guys' thoughts, especially if you're a fan of either the Washington Capitals or the Boston Bruins. Before I finish out this video, though, I do want to quickly touch on a trade that took place earlier today, a minor deal between the Blackhawks and Senators. The Ottawa Senators acquired future considerations for Nikita Zaitsev, a 2023 second and a 2026 fourth. So the Senators finally rid themselves of that Nikita Zaitsev contract. He has a cap hit of $4.5 million and is signed through next season. Obviously, this is something that the Senators have really wanted to do. It's been talked about for a long time now. I'm interested to see what they're going to do with this newfound cap space. And obviously for the Chicago Blackhawks, this move makes total sense. You're in a full-on rebuild. They have a ton of cap space. They're going to have a ton of cap space next season. Take advantage of that. Take on bad contracts. Stockpile draft picks. They now have 16 draft picks in the first 3 rounds of the next 3 NHL drafts after making this move. Really liking what the Blackhawks are doing in terms of stockpiling futures. But that is going to wrap up this quick little video breaking down the trade trades that took place today. Again, as always, I want to know your guys' thoughts, so be sure to get down there in the comments. Let me know how you feel about these trades, especially the one between the Bruins and Capitals. If you guys enjoyed this video and you're excited for the trade deadline, please be sure to leave it a like. That's the best way to show your support. And most importantly, if this was your first time checking out the channel and you want more NHL content just like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will talk to you all soon.